Good afternoon, class. We're having our second lecture on the computer graphics course. Today, I'm going to go through some user interface elements. Last week, I asked you to watch the videos, the introductory videos that are, I think, a few sets of videos. The first one gives you the complete overview of Vision 360, all the things you can do with it. That's a very wide scope. We are not going to go through all that. The second set of videos are about the user interface elements, and I will want to take you through some of them. As an introduction to the week's video, which are available on our website, the week 2 videos, I've watched them again, that we gave to the students last year. I think some of the things there are a bit heavy going. Therefore, I decided to take a slower route. And I'll give you like about 30 minutes of video of a lecture today, which will be an introduction to what lecture is already available for 2 hours on the website for the second week. The lecture I'm giving you has been covered in the videos I asked you to watch last week. I am doing this because I know many people will not go. If my experience serves me right, you tell students to do things, only a small number of them will do it. And by the time you build up on that, they will fail and they'll start complaining again. So I'm giving you another opportunity now. What I'm going to go through today on the user interface elements are already on one of the videos that I told you to watch. In fact, I will model this lecture to go as closely as possible to that video number 2. I don't want to repeat what is in video number 1 because it's just a brief overview of everything. But the user interface elements are very important because that's where your work on Vision 360 really begins. Therefore, I'm going to go through this video. I'm going to go through the same scope of material that is inside the video, and not making any changes when they are not called for. So if you have watched those videos and you understand them, this is just a repetition for you. But you need this repetition to be able to benefit more from the materials on the website, which is a 2-hour, I think a 2-hour video for the modeling, on modeling generally, the beginning of modeling. So let us talk about the user interface elements. Now, when you talk of the graphical user interfaces, we're learning about the main elements of it. And there I can see 5 broad divisions of those elements. I will talk about these broad divisions to give us the vocabulary of talking about them, because all these things have names. When you talk of the applications bar, it means something. The project workspaces, the toolbars, the drawing canvas and its browser, as well as data panel. Under the drawing canvas, you also have the view cube and one or two other set of things. Some of them sometimes hidden, sometimes you can make them visible, but they are all on the drawing canvas. The drawing canvas is the largest space on the screen when you get in, and that's where your drawings will show up. But inside that drawing canvas, other things apart from your drawings also show up. And some of them are tools that you can use to prosecute your drawing. But the application bar itself is the top of your screen when you launch Windows 3, Vision 360. The top of your screen, I will show that shortly, is called the applications bar. And then in the applications bar, you have, just below it, you have the project workspaces and the tools bar, the toolbars. And then after that, you have the drawing canvas, and then you have the data panel. This is an example of what I will talk about. This is just a simple bench. I want us to look at this very, very simple example. And this is your homework for this week. This week, you are going to create either this whole bench as it is, this 3-dimensional bench, which is a bench that is between systems engineering and meta math. These are the benches you will see between system engineering and meta math. Go take your measurements and get this bench drawn. I will show you how. I'll give you hints on how to do it, and begin to gather your own data and your own portfolio. And please make sure you turn the history bar on, because when you submit anything to me, it is your history bar that will demonstrate to me whether it is your work or just copy somebody else. If your history bar coincides with another person's history bar, then it's a copied work. So just make sure that you turn your history bar on. I will show you how to do that in the course of this. So I'm going to use this to demonstrate the ideas we have in this short video. The next, okay, here, this is the kind of thing you see when you start your Fusion 360. You can see, admin, is my screen on my Fusion 360 page?
Yes, sir. I can see it, sir.
Okay, so what you have on top here is what we mean by the applications bar. The applications bar starts with this toggle for the toolbar, for the data panel, all the way to your picture or name or the question mark help. So all those things on top are called together the applications bar. Then immediately below it, you have the project workspaces, which is this small box here, beginning with design and some other things. I will run a copy of it now, and you'll see it later on. Then after that, you have this toolbars. The toolbars begin with the create toolbar, with the create group, automate group, modify group, assemble group, construct group, inspect, insert, when you are in the design workspace. The design workspace itself is what decides what kind of toolbars you are going to get. There are certain tools that can work in more than workspace, so you might see them repeated when you go to another workspace. But ordinarily, you just have the design and the project workspace, and the design is one of them. If you want to go to other project workspace, other workspaces, you click on that design, it will show you the list of other workspaces, and you can pick another one. We'll look at that later on. Now, the large space where you have this bench, where my bench is sitting now, is what we call the drawing canvas. That's the canvas here. This whole thing is a canvas, and the canvas is where your drawings will occur, where your drawings will be seen when you are using Fusion 360. Inside the canvas, you have what is called the browser. The browser gives you it gives you a window into every element that is contained in the drawing canvas. So that helps you to browse it item by item. If there are several components, each component is listed and their characteristic, and so you can reach any of the components or any of the elements there by just going straight to the browser. The browser is actually a very powerful way to address anything that is already existing on the canvas. So you'll be using the browser. On your left of the browser, you have what is called the data panel. The data panel contains a lot of things which we will discuss later, because it's just like your directory to all your drawings and projects. That's what we call the data panel. And that data panel can be toggled on or off with the first key inside the applications bar. All these things are a little bit theoretical, and they are better when we actually do them, which we shall do as soon as I just run through my slides. We'll go through a practical example, a practical session, so that if in that practical session, you can ask me questions, and then you can have a Q&A there. And more than anything else, I shall have finished defining for you what your homework will look like for the second week. And please begin to keep your data concerning your projects, your collaboration projects and everything from now on. And this homework will explain, because These are the things to also bring to your final exam. And it is the basis on which your exam questions will be asked. So these are very, very important. It's important for you to learn. It's also important for you to get your correct grades as a result of at the end of the course. So you have, this is just a general description of what you should be able to see when you run your software. And it may change. There may be differences depending on the settings and the preferences that you have in your own peculiar system and what drawings you have already, what projects you have already gone through. These are my own projects, my own drawings in this place. So, data panel. The data panel, which will look like this, depending on what your drawings are. The first icon of the application in the applications menu toggles the data panel. So you click it once, it shows, click it again, it goes away. So it's just a toggle. This toggling allows you to access models you have worked on. It allows you to manage design data and also to manage collaborative projects. The collaborative projects are projects that are shared with you that may not necessarily originate from you, but may originate from your friend or from any other collaborator. So if somebody else is working on a project, those projects are shared with you. You will be able to view them also on the data panel. So what you see on the data panel is not necessarily something that is on your computer. Even your own drawings on the data panel are not necessarily on your computer. So they can be stored in the cloud too. The picture here shows a view of my own recent data panel. There is also a scroll bar. So the first app icon in the applications menu toggles the data panel. This allows you to access models you have worked on, manage design data, and collaborative projects. And the collaborative projects are projects that are shared with you, that originate from elsewhere. So if you have partners, you can share your work and then you can collaborate one way or the other. And so that is a data panel, and that data panel can be toggled from, as I will show you, from the applications bar. The picture here shows a view of my recent data panel. These pictures, I'm referring to the pictures here that are showing you some of the projects I've recently worked on are here. And then you can also scroll to see all my projects. That is me in my own computer. And like I said, we will go, the other thing on the application menu, applications bar is the file menu. In the file menu, there are several things you can do with the drop-down file menu. You can open files, you can save, you can 3D print, you can recover, and then you can do any of this. And there are still more lists that you can, of the things you can do. So you just press the plus rather than go through the file menu. So those are the kinds of things you can do. You do this by example. Other icons on the application bar do the obvious. Like I'm sure if you have any experience at all with Windows, you can recognize the undo and the redo keys, which have they are called arrows, the job status, which tells you the name, the job status. And then by hovering your mouse button on these and other icons, you get the usual hints that come from most Windows GUI programs. That is assuming you have not turned these hints off. You can turn the hints off so that the hints don't show, but I don't think that's a good thing. These are often self-explanatory of things you get to know or things you get to know by practice. From the last lecture, you already understand that the question mark takes you to the elaborate sections on documentation and help menus. So, and I asked you to do some things on this at home, go to the self-paced learning, and so many other things you can get there. Some of the videos I asked you to watch from last week are described therein. One major documentation that you can find here is the Fusion 360 Applications Programmer Interface, API, the object library of the API. We will get to use that once you gain a mastery of the GUI. Once you are comfortable with the GUI, we are going to look at the API later on. Still continuing on the applications bar, depending on what modifications you have made, your name or picture also appears on the application bar. So when you are getting to the extreme right of that applications bar, you'll see either, depending on how you install, you can see a name there, that's your name, or your picture. If you have already edited it and you have uploaded a picture to Autodesk, they can show you that picture there. This has several menus as shown on the right here. So when you click that picture, you can see Autodesk account, preferences, my profile, share feedbacks, refer a friend, and sign out. You can sign out from there also. One of the most important of these icons is the preferences option. Here you can set up the environment default behavior of your system. There is also a quick setup. That quick setup is under the help menu that opens you to most of the common setup items without going through the entire preferences dialog. The preferences dialog is extremely big, and you may be searching for things over and over, whereas the quick setup quickly shows you the most common things you may want to set up. So that can be very powerful and advantageous. That comes from the help menu under the question mark. Continuing on the applications bar, like I was talking about, some of the things you may want to set up. You may find out that if you started Fusion 360 being an American system, you may find out it is setting the measurement in inches. If you don't like inches, you want to measure in millimeters, which is or centimeters or meters. You can go to the preferences and click on it, and from there you can choose that millimeters should be where you want to what you want to use. Another thing that is also important is that normally the up axis on Fusion 360 is y-axis, but we don't like y-axis that way. If you want to align yourself with me, which is good for you, it's better you change it so that the up axis is z-axis. So you have x, y on the horizontal plane, and the z-axis is the vertical axis. You can do that on this line in the preferences menu. I will take you to that place shortly so that you can see how to do it. The picture on the right here is a setting done in preferences. From quick setup, the measuring units can be changed as desired. And then after before the applications bar, you have your workspaces. Below the application bar, you have your workspaces. That is before the tools bar. The workspaces of Fusion 360 shows you the purpose-driven workspaces that you can work in, which demonstrate all the capabilities of Fusion 360. And these are the design workspace, the generative design workspace, render workspace, animation workspace, simulation workspace, manufacture workspace, and drawing workspace. These are all the workspaces that are available to you to use in Fusion 360. So, but for this course, we're going to limit ourselves mostly to design, and sometimes we'll talk about the drawing workspace. We're only going to browse through some of the other ones. We're spending 95% of our time inside the design workspace because that is where you are going to do your modeling. And this course is around the modeling itself. Later on, when we are simulating the model, then you move from the design to the simulation workspace. Fusion 360 capabilities are grouped into purpose-driven workspaces. These are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. You are always working in a specific workspace. The different workspaces are shown here on the right. Now, in the design workspace, in this course, we are spending most of the time inside the design workspace. This is where you are editing, you get the editing tools to create your 2D drawings that form the basis of several 3D objects that you create. You also have access to tools that create 3D objects directly. The important thing is to understand how both work. Even when either method can create a result, you may have preferences on how to proceed, as we shall see. So those are the slides I want us to go through. The next thing I want to do now is to actually go and do a demo on the Fusion 360 directly. So let us just go out of this slide now and go to Fusion 360 directly. So I'm going to take this slide off, and I'm going to run a Fusion 360 session, and this is what you see. I've already launched Vision 360. So what I'm going to do now is that I will go to let us first do some demonstrations. For instance, the data panel can be toggled. This data panel here, if I want to switch it off, I click this once. It goes, the data panel is gone. If I want the data panel back, again, I go to that first icon on the applications bar, click it again, the data panel comes back on. So that first bar takes the data panel on or off. And you can see that your data panel is just like a directory that has access to all your drawings and your collaborative projects. So the second thing there, as we were talking about, is your file menu, while you have all those number of things there. And then the next one is your save menu, which you can just use it to save. That save also could have been done under the file menu. And after that, you have your undo and redo. Between that and the next set of icons, you have a long space where you have the name of the files that you have opened can be on this, because Vision 360 allows you to be working on multiple projects at the same time. And one here is called Untitled, that is, I've not given it a name. Another one has a name already. That means that it has been saved at least once. So the Untitled has not been saved, and you can lose it if you never save it. Some people save it as Untitled, but it's better for you to give it it's equivalent to is open a file that is not yet created. So you can create and open a file for you in this place. So you can just use this one now to create a new untitled document. So I've created something blank now in the browser. So that is one thing you can do. And we're going to just do some fiddling shortly. But there are other icons there. The next one is extensions, which leads you to the extensions that are available that add more power to your Vision 360. Let us look at the Vision 360 first before we start looking at these extensions. Then you have your job status. If you click your job status, it will tell you, okay, like now, it tells me that I'm working online. So that is the job status. If I'm working offline, it will tell me. And then the next thing there is, notifications. So from notifications, you can find support. You can, if there are new versions, if there are important information that Autodesk wants to see, your licensing, whether your license has expired or there is a new version or there's something you should upload or download, all those kind of things will come to you from here. And then the last two are icons you already know. The question mark icon is the one that gives you your help. And then the one that has your picture is the beautiful thing that, but before we go to that picture thing, let us look at the question mark thing. And you can see that in the question mark icon, under the question mark icon, one thing that is interesting there is this let's see, my Zoom is disturbing that. There is some quick setup there. Okay, yes, I can see it here. Quick setup in this place. Question mark here. It can take you to the quick setup. So if you get to the quick setup, for instance, the first thing inside the quick setup is default units. Default units for me now is already millimeters, but if it's not millimeters for you, if it is centimeters or meters or inches or feet, you can change it to millimeters or any other thing you prefer. So that's a quick setup. And then apart from that, it also helps you with your navigation and view. If you have some CAD experience before and you want the CAD experience to be the basis of your learning Vision 360, like you knew SolidWorks or Inventor or TrueCAD, you can maneuver your model to familiar controls. So it will show you, it will let you use the kind of controls that those software have. And then another thing here is that it can help you to know how to pan. You can decide what kind of mouse button you use to pan. To pan, you can use your mouse button, just scroll the middle scrolling something on your mouse and you can pan. Or you can use zoom. You can move your mouse up and down after holding down a key. All these things are settings you can achieve in the quick setup. You can also remove the quick setup. But if you click your picture, you have far bigger things you can set in the preferences. If you click preferences, you're going to have a lot of things you can now work on. For instance, in this page of preferences, somewhere close to the last in the first set of things there is Z up. Z up, if you can change that to Y up. Y up is likely to be the way, if you are opening your computer for the first time to run Fusion 360, Y up is what you have to see there. But now you can change it to Z up. So you can change from your inches to millimeters. You can also change your default from Y up to Z up. Don't forget, you could also do this thing project by project. But this is an environment for everything. I think you may be better off when you set it up globally like this. And I think the global thing can be overwritten by specific setups in your particular drawing. But it is always good to set it up like that. You can also change the orbit from free orbit to constrained orbit. Usually, I will show you what those things really mean shortly. But that is how there are so many things you can go to the API. Like now, if you go to API, the default language for your script is Python, but it could also be C++ or something else. So right now, the default language for scripts is Python. The default language for add-ins is Python. Then you can select the default path for your script. So if you are going to write script commands for Fusion 360, where is the default place to check it? Right? My own now is dteach. That is my own. You can set your own up for the particular directory that you want your Python scripts to be found. Now, another one is design. In this place, you can check things like active component visibility, design history, capture design history. Now, this capture design history, you can decide to not capture design history, but I advise you to set it the correct default, which is capture design history, because in the design history, it will allow you to be able to set up a playbook of how your drawing was done. I'll show you a simple example of that in this class. So you see how the design history, because how design history works, because Fusion 360 is a history-bound software. So you can, everything you do, it records at what point it is done. So it's not just, so the hierarchy of how you did your work is saved for you. And it's also good for judging or marking your paper. So if two people have the same design history, then that means that they have copied each other, because even if you draw the same thing, you probably arrive at it, since there are also many methods of getting there. There are so many other things that you can choose here. And then we also for manufacture, electronics, render, drawing, tokens and cloud material, and so many other things that you can set here. Like, okay, for instance, default unit that we saw at the quick setup, there can also be changed here from millimeters to anything that you want. So this is another place where you could have done that. There are also default units for simulation and generative design and preview features. You could also check your preview features here. So the preferences here is where you can customize the environment to please yourself, to suit the way you want to work. But I think all these things are better done with some example. Now, if you want to look at the workspaces here, you can see the design workspace. You can see the other workspaces like generative design, render, animation, simulation, manufacture. All the 7 of them, as we discussed previously, are all here. Like I told you, we're going to stay with the design workspace most of the time. And there are 2 things I want to show you. First of all, I want us to just play around with a very, very simple drawing. And I will let you participate in what we shall do here. I will begin by just drawing some lines and then show you how you can create a sketch. You can create a sketch and I'll be doing 2-dimensional sketching in Fusion 360. which would be like working on your piece of paper, and you can draw some things, but you will see the amount of help that you can get doing that. So if you want to do that, you go to the Design Workspace, and in Design Workspace, you choose Create. And inside Create, it's best for you to start by saying Create Sketch. If you say Create Sketch, so this is where you are when you say Create Sketch. So in Create Sketch, before you rush to do anything, let us assume you get something like this. It may not look like this, but it is something that will be nearly like this. It's important for you to see what is happening here. The first thing is that you are given an origin. You are given an origin. In that your origin, there are 3 axes. The red axis is your x-axis, the green axis is your y-axis, and the blue axis, your z-axis. And like I said, if we have not chosen your z to be up, it won't be like this. It is because I've chosen my z to go up. That's why it's like this. But before I go on, let me just be sure that everybody is on the same page with me, and that and I'm not too fast in explaining these things. Admin, people say, are you seeing my arrow on the system? Is it showing? For instance, can you see that I'm selecting the z-axis now? Can you see that I selected the up and down axis now? Is admin there? Students, can anybody see that I am selecting this z-axis now? Can you see I'm selecting the z-axis now? Let me just see. I just want to be sure. Okay. Okay, let me go back again to the way things are. I want to backtrack a little bit and see what. Let me just finish sketch. Now, I said you start from your Design Workspace. You choose Create, and then when you say Create, let it be Create Sketch. When you say Create Sketch, you have this page which shows you an origin. You see an origin, and then you see 3 coordinate axes: x-axis red, y-axis green, and z-axis blue. That's how it starts. Now you start like that. Another thing you should notice is that the XY plane, the horizontal plane, is showing. Then the ZX plane and the XY plane, all those are showing. So when you take your cursor pointer to those things, there will be a demonstration which one of them you are selecting. So what you have here is an origin, 3 axes, and 3 coordinate planes. So once you see that, you are ready to sketch. But because sketching takes place on a plane, so you have to choose which plane you are sketching on. To start with, we have 3 planes to choose from: either the XY plane, XY plane, YZ plane, or ZX plane. You can choose any of them. These are the 3 planes: 1, 2, 3. Now, that is just at the beginning. It is possible for you to select another plane. You can construct a different plane from all of these ones and do your sketching on that plane. You can draw on any plane. But because this is the first time we are trying to do this sketch, we can choose from one of the 3 created planes for us. To make life easy, let us just choose the XY plane. When we choose the XY plane, you are now looking at a plane directly. You are now looking at the plane directly. But before we even do anything, notice that on your top right corner here, there is a view cube. If you click the home key there, there's something like, looks like a hut. In that hut, just click it, you are back again to the 3-dimensional stuff. But if you want to go back again to that plane, you can just say the top, and that is back again on your XY plane. X is red and Y is gray. So let us just look at the elements of a drawing that are showing here. You can, one is a curve, the other one is a spline, then you have a circle, then you have a mirror, and then a dimensioning, and then a center rectangle. Those are things that you can create. But if you click the create itself, you have many more group of choices. You can see line, rectangle, circle, arc, polygon, ellipse, slot, spline, or point, and so many other things in groups. You can even create a mirror, create a circular pattern, create a rectangular pattern, do project include, sketch dimensions, equation-driven curve. So many things are available for you to choose from. So all of these things assist you in your drawing. So you can create elements. Another set of stuff that you can do another set of things you can also do is this. You can also modify. After you have done something, you can modify something that is already on your sketch. And that modification, there are several things you can fillet. Let us say you have two lines that are abruptly joining each other in a sharp corner. You can make that corner rounded a little bit like an engineering body would look like. You can fillet, you can chamfer, you can trim, you can extend, you can break, you can sketch, scale, you can offset. So many things you can do in the modify section. And then the next thing there, the next group of stuff there is constraints. Constraints are very, very beautiful ways to assist you to draw in a very, very nice way. And let us just fiddle with some of these things. And let's do the simplest thing, just draw a line. So we can draw a line. If I click that, what I want to draw a line is to just choose a beginning point and an end point. And then beginning point, end point, and then it's if I click escape, that line is drawn. This line that I've drawn is showing in blue. There's a reason why it is showing in blue, because I have not committed myself as to the exact place where it is started. This is still an arbitrary point to an arbitrary point on an arbitrary length. I can rotate, I can move this, all these points are movable. This line is not, even the length of the line and everything is movable. But I can actually choose to commit myself as to what the line should be. For instance, suppose I want this line to be horizontal and I want it to be a certain number of units. Okay, so if I want it to be horizontal, I can go and apply a horizontal constraint. The first constraint here is horizontal vertical. If I click that and if I click that here, sorry. It's not, that is okay. If I click the horizontal vertical, I click the line, it has made it horizontal. So if you click horizontal vertical, if the thing is near horizontal, it will make it horizontal. If it is near vertical, it will make it vertical. Now, what else do I need to do to commit myself to this? Right now, I'm no longer able to move this point. I'm no longer able to move this point arbitrarily because I've said that my line is horizontal or vertical. So it can only be horizontal, vertical. Even though I'm still able to move the point because I've not committed myself to what the point is, but whatever I do, I've already constrained that line to be horizontal. Now, suppose I decide to choose the horizontal location of one point. I can create a dimension. I click this point and I click the origin okay, sorry. If I click this point and click the origin, sorry, let's see the dimension from here to here. So I am trying to decide a dimension for the line. So let us say I put 60 millimeters there. So if I put 60 millimeters and just click my mouse button, if I say 60 millimeters, that's 60 millimeters length. But the thing is still not, the line is still blue, because even though I know this point, I've not yet determined what the second point, what's the second point will be. The second point is still mobile. The second point is still mobile. Suppose I can also give a distance between that and the other, or maybe I should just give it a length of the line. So suppose I choose a dimension now, and I say, okay, the length of this line, suppose I want the length of the line to be 45. So the line is 45. The line is 45. This thing is still blue. Why is it still blue? Because I've already told it where it starts from, and I've already told it the length. Why is it blue? It's still blue because the line can still go up or down. It can still go up or down, so it's still not yet fixed. So what do I need to fix this line? Let me now set the vertical location of the end point, of one of the points, any point on it. If I choose the vertical location of either the beginning or the end point, then I would have fixed this object completely. Let us say I create a dimension again. I pick the point here, and I pick the end point. Let us say I make that 30. So I've made that 30. If you are looking, you will see that this line has now turned black. That means that I am saying that I am no longer able to, everything about the line is now fixed. I can no longer move the line or the endpoints as I used to, because all the information about what that line should be is now known. So that is one thing about we're drawing our line. So we have done that now. So that is a line that is fixed. And when everything is known about the line, it is in black. Let us do another line. We click this one again and start from here. I can do another line that is like that. So if I press my escape, I have that line is inclined. Again, it is still in blue now because we do not have all the information about that line. I want to do some things on this line. I want to do some modification on the line. For instance, if I say modify, in modify, I want to extend the line so that it reaches this previous line. If I click this line, if I click extend and click this line, it is smart enough to know that I want it to reach the object that is on that side. So you can see it extends itself and stops at the next object it could see. So this line has an extent there. I can decide to also create dimensions for this line. And one of the things I could do, I could choose what angular orientation it has with this one. So if I want it to be vertical, that is another thing. I can just use a constraint. I can say horizontal, vertical. It is horizontal, but I don't want it to be. If I choose it again, you can undo what you have just done, either by going to do the undo button or press Ctrl-Z. Ctrl-Z is my own instinctive way of doing my undo. So if you want it to be vertical, you make sure it's already near vertical, and then when you choose horizontal, vertical, when you choose it horizontal, vertical, it is going to make it vertical, not horizontal. Now, let's see. You choose this line and you click the constraint. So this line is now a vertical line. So, or if I don't want that, I can go back again to what I had before, Ctrl-Z. So I can decide to create an angle, to take a dimension, and the dimension I want now is an angular dimension. I take this angle, I take this line and this line. If I take these two lines, you can see I'm able to set what that angle is. If I make that 60 degrees, so that is 60 degrees. So I've chosen this to be inclined at 60 degrees. And this is still blue. I can put other pieces of information, like selecting what that edge point is. If I do a dimension now, and I choose this edge, and choose the beginning here, and I can choose, let us say I make that 70. and then take it again, take that point again, and choose a vertical, choose an horizontal distance from here. Suppose I make that 50. Okay, again, once I select this point completely and I select the angle, everything that is supposed to be known about that is also known. So you can see I've got only two objects that I've done. One of them I constrained to be horizontal. The other I made it at 60 degrees to the previous one. Another thing I can do, I can decide to do a mirror image of these two lines. If I want to do a mirror image of these two lines, there is something here called create mirror. So I can either bring it from the create, and in the menu there's create mirror, or I can just pick the icon create mirror, and then it gives me a set of another menu, and it says select objects. So I want to select objects. This is one object, the first line, second line. So it sees that I've selected two objects. The next thing it wants me to do is to select a mirror line. If I want to select a mirror line, I don't have any other line I have drawn, or except I could use one of those lines as the mirror line, but it's nicer to see, to just use another line. Now, I can use the y-axis as the line. But if I can choose the y-axis, I'll choose it, but it's not allowing me to choose the y-axis here. So what I can do, I can go to the origin, and I can decide at that place I can turn on the origin, and here I can just choose the y-axis. If I choose the y-axis as my mirror line, so once selected, if I'm happy with that, I click OK. So you can see I've done two lines, and I've mirrored the two lines. So these are the two lines. So it has a mirror image of these two lines on this other side. Everything exactly equal. So that is one thing that we can do. Many other things. Suppose I want to draw a circle, and I want that circle to be such that these two lines are tangential to it. So I can create a circle. I can decide to create a circle, and I said I want a two-tangent circle. So the tangents to the circle are this one and this one. So you can see the circle that I've got now. Depending on what origin I want to choose, I can make a circle here that these two lines are tangent to the circle. Okay, so that's it. So I can also create a dimension for the circle, and then I want the radius of the circle to be 60 millimeters. If I put 60, So that circle is fully defined because this line is a tangent, this line is a tangent, and the radius is 60. You will see that circle by symmetry must lie on the y-axis. Now, that leads us to another thing we can do. I can now go back again to modify. In my modify here, I can choose trim. I can trim this circle in such a way that this side of it is gone. So I can trim this. So all that remains in the circle now is this circular object that is joining those two lines in such a way that they are tangential to it. That's sort of a fillet, but there is a nicer way to do a fillet, which I will show you shortly. I can do more things here. For instance, suppose I decide to draw another line. I can carry a line. I can start from here. I can go here, and I say, okay, that's a horizontal line. It already knows that I want a horizontal line because it has applied the horizontal constraint. I can decide I don't want the horizontal constraint and remove it and make the line to be non-horizontal. Again, but you can see this is still blue. I can come again. I can do more trimming. For instance, I can trim this new line on both sides. Let the original set of lines that I've drawn trim the line. So if I want to do that, I just take my scissors, trim, and I can trim it on this side, and I can trim it on this side. So it's only this part of that is inside that is left. I can also continue. I can trim the old lines too by taking the scissors and trim it here and also trim it here. So you can see now we have all of this. We have this thing done here. And I can also go ahead and do fillet. I can do filleting in this acute angle here using the modify. I can say modify, create a fillet. I choose this line, and then it is now for me to choose the radius of the fillet that I want. So if I want the radius of my fillet to be 6 millimeters, I just put it there 6 millimeters. So that's my fillet. I can do the same thing on this side. I can say create fillet. I can pick this one and this one, and I say I want it to be 6 millimeters and create fillet. So I don't need to go through that rigmarole of creating a circle and then going through all of those things. So these are sketches in 2 dimensions. You can do, basically we have been doing, what we have done here so far is using lines and circles. We can do more than that. For instance, we can draw a center circle. If I want to draw a center circle, I can come here now and take this center rectangle, for instance. I can start from the origin and I can do a center rectangle here. If I'm happy with that, I can stop there. If I'm not, sorry. I can now decide what the dimensions should be, how long this one should be. I can use the tool here. Let us say I want that to be 120. And then I want, or maybe I want it to be more than that. I want it to be 130 for a reason. Let that be 130. And let this one here be 100. Okay, so I have that. Another thing I might be interested in here is I can just decide to make a hole inside this place, and I can make this like a laminar that has a hole drilled into it. I don't need to do anything really, because if I extrude only the outside one, there will be a hole there made by the one that is inside here. But let me just do that for you to see. So if I say Control Q, for instance, let's see if I leave my sketch and say Control Q, where's Q? Or if I want to create, say, an extrude, if I create an extrusion, I can create an extrusion here and choose this, and then create a new body. New body. Do extrusion. Okay. So you can see, after all have been done, you can see I've created something like this. See what I've created from what we've just done. So that's what you can get from just a simple sketch. Before I go on, let me just see what questions or comments people have. Sir, your mouse is not moving. Sorry, you are not saying it. The mouse has been moving. Let me go back to the. Okay, so this is just an example of what we can create very quickly using a 2-dimensional sketch. And after we have had this surface, if I want to do another sketch now, I do not have to use the coordinate planes. Any of these planes can be used at the beginning. You can sketch on any plane that exists or that you create can be used as the basis for a sketch. For instance, let us just see what I can do here. I can create another sketch. I can create a sketch. If I create a sketch and I choose this plane to be the plane on the sketch, imagine that I decide to create a circle on this side, a small circle, and let that circle be 10 millimeters thick, 10 millimeters radius, and let us say it is at point 2020 from the origin. So let me create a dimension let the dimension be from here to here. Let it be 20. And let the vertical dimension be the same. So from here to here, also 20. So what can I do now? Suppose I want a mirror image of it on this other side. I can create a mirror. I pick this and select the y-axis again. I'll select the y-axis and say, okay. So I created a circle here and did a mirror of it. And if I'm finished, I can say I finished sketching. Now, suppose I decide to extrude a hole, just drill a hole through these two, all through. So I can create an extrusion. And I want to create an extrusion here, an extrusion on these two holes. And I want it to cut through the existing object. So it's to cut through the existing object. That's it. Okay. So if I decide to look at it from the top, this is how it is from the top. If I look at it generally, or if I create an orbit and I take a look at, so this object looks constrained. Let me see whether, oh, it's not constrained. So you can see what I've done now with that. So that is this it's looking like somebody with two small eyes and not very happy. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so those are things that we can do easily with sketching. You need to just come here and play with it. Notice, let us just look at some of the things I've done. I did sketching by I start with create sketch. If I want to do a sketch, I create sketch. And the first thing I do is I select the plane on which I want the sketch to be on. So if I want the sketch to be on a particular plane, I select that plane. From that plane, I can now start putting the sketching elements. They can be circles, they can be lines, they can be splines, they can be rectangles, all those things. And I can then edit them, modify them. I can do several things with them. And those are the kinds of things that are possible with your sketch. It's now it's nearly 5:30. I've taken a lot of time. Can't I just give you 10 minutes break and we come back to discuss your homework? Admin?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
I can't hear my admin. I don't know whether
I can hear you, sir.
it's around. Oh, I hope I've not lost my body. Admin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, please, can you give the students a 10 minutes break? Let's come back in 10 minutes time, because by the time here is saying that we have gone too long, they need a break. 10 minutes, we'll finish the lecture after 10 minutes. We come back after 10 minutes to finish the lecture.